I've got questions here. I'm going to ask them. We're going to start on our left and work our way down. Some of the questions are specific, but I'll give everybody an opportunity to answer the question. But right now, we're going to give you some time to introduce yourself, which you have 4 minutes to do so. Mr. Williams, I'll start with you. You may introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
I was born and raised in Middlesex County, in Kings Neck, between Hayless Road, Star Mountain Road, and Route 33. My family was raised there. It was the first black school was in King Neck. My home place is on Hayless Road, which also had a school that burned down. I went to Mill Road, right out at the end of Locust Hill, which is standing now with a hole in the roof. I'm a graduate of the class of 1970, when Middlesex made the crossroad. And what I mean by crossroad, it was total integration of Middlesex High School. When I left high school, I went on to college. After college, I came back to Middlesex County. You see, I'm invested here. All my life I've been invested here. I went later to work in the mill in West Point. I started at a position at the very bottom, and I worked to the very top for 40-some years. I got married. I've been married for 40-some years. Guess what? To the same woman. We had 3 kids, all graduate of Middlesex High School. All went on to college. I have a daughter teaching in D.C. schools as we speak. I got another daughter that is coordinator at Mary Macklin. And if you went to the emergency room before she went over there, you probably ran in front of her because she was a coordinator there. My son went to college. He was playing on the only state championship team that Middlesex High School had. And you know how that goes. He went on to the Marines and retired out of the Marine service. So now you lead to this place. Look, I've been asked before to do this. This is not my first time at the rodeo. I've been asked by the late Jack Miller, and you know what I told him? If I run Jack, you probably would lose. The late Monroe Jarvis, who died, asked me the same thing. I didn't. But it came to this time, yes, I was asked. I was asked, but what put the cream on the crop was my wife looked at me and said, you know something? You should do this. And if you don't do it, you might settle around one day, as old as I am, and say, you know, maybe I should have gave it a shot. It's not a question about Middlesex County. I know what's here. I was born working on the farms in Crittenden and Fleet. I'm going to get too short. Anyhow, I was working on the farms there. You know, and for some reason or another, at the job I done at work, for some reason or another, I was on the front page of Puma magazine. That's a pretty good honor, because all the ones that I went to, I work at the mill, nobody got that honor. I was respected in my peers. I also, at the same time, you're talking about communication. At the mill, you had a railroad track, and you didn't communicate across the railroad track. But see, I talked to a guy named Joe, and I said, Joe, meet me at the end of the day. He said, why? I said, because I don't talk to shadows. Middlesex County, I'm telling you, I'm not boasting. I'm the real deal. What you see here is what I lived all my life. And I came here, and I'm invested here, and I will stay here till the day I die. I didn't come by boat nor plane. I'm staying here until the day I don't move. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Ms. Whitaker, you have 4 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, fellow candidates and constituents. It is an honor to be here this evening with you to talk about my growth and vision for Middlesex County. I am Elizabeth Whitaker, and I am running for a seat for the Board of Supervisors for the Jamaica District. I am proud to say that Middlesex County has been home to 5 generations of my family. Over the years, I have proudly served as a volunteer to improve the lives of hundreds of citizens, young and old. For years, I have been a proud volunteer with Adults on a Mission at a local church to improve the lives of children by paying for their school lunches, providing gifts for children that live in poverty. I have also been involved with a local foundation that provides school supplies, food, and clothing for children right here in our county. Our children are not the only ones in need of our support. I deliver Meals on Wheels to the aging population of Middlesex who are food deprived, live at below poverty level, and are socially isolated. For many of these people, seeing me deliver their meals is the only social interaction that they may have for days. In my work with Bay Aging, I am an administrator coordinating the efforts of Bay Transit, which provides transportation for riders to work, errands, and medical appointments. Additionally, I serve on the Leadership Council for the Alzheimer's Association that serves the Middle Peninsula and Northern Neck. Beyond my humanitarian interest, I want to be a champion for the safety and beautification of Middlesex. Specifically, I want safer road maintenance. On Highway 17, the overgrown median during the summer months is a danger to crossover traffic. We need the grass in the median to be maintained regularly and litter-free. Likewise, I want to support the initiative to remove dilapidated, abandoned, non-historical buildings, which are unsightly and unsafe. Once we provide safety provisions and clean up our district, the infrastructure in our county will grow because more people will come to see Middlesex County as a beacon of opportunity for business. For example, historic Saluda has vacant buildings and homes for sale. We need to restore this area for economic growth by building much-needed sidewalks from the town center to Route 17 and landscape beautification in key places. Another main focus I would like to see in the Jamaica district is a playground and a basketball court for residents that live in the upper end of the county. I would like for parents, friends, grandparents to have an opportunity to bring their children to a safe place where they can play and interact with other children. Additionally, the entire county would benefit from broadband internet, from the promotion of businesses to schools and homes by providing high-speed internet. Finally, I support the Blue Water Campground Development Initiative and have natural instincts to protect the interest of our constituents. When I attended the town hall meeting in April, I spoke with the Blue Water directors and I shared their enthusiasm for the project. They appreciated my concerns for the overcrowded roads and traffic safety. They assured me they were working closely with VDOT by safely widening Bayport Road.
30 seconds.
The development of this campground is a key component to bringing seasonal tourism while providing state-of-the-art site amenities that will host private corporate events, all while bringing in more people and business opportunity to Middlesex County. I have over 15 years experience providing financial services for private businesses, banks, and transit systems, managing budgets, allocating funds, and reporting grant-funded programs.
Time. Thank you. Ms. Swinehart, you have 4 minutes.
Thank you. I really appreciate the DCA providing this opportunity, and thank you to all of you for being here tonight and your interest in this election. Keeping Middlesex competitive continues to be my goal as I run for re-election to the Board of Supervisors. I want to make sure that our local government supports opportunities to start or expand business, to get a good education, and to enjoy life. Virginia recently reclaimed the top spot in the nation for doing business. Business Network, CNBC lauded our world-class workforce, high-performing education system, and business-friendly regulation. We in Middlesex are part of Virginia's success, and I've worked hard on the Board of Supervisors to ensure support for projects and proposals that will help businesses grow, provide the best school and public safety personnel, and enhance the quality of life for our citizens. Our investments in water and sewer, Cook's Corner revitalization, and the proposed county-wide biking and walking path are moving the county forward and reflect the kind of work which makes our state the best. My record on these matters is available for all to see, but I wanted to share a little bit about how I approach the tasks ahead. It's my policy to listen and learn. I seek out our citizens' views on local matters, and I get a lot of responses by phone and email. I visit local business owners. I meet with the people who are hiring and seeking new employees. I talk with those responsible for important government decisions in the Sheriff's Department, Social Service Department, schools, looking for ways that we can make the community better for our citizens and use tax dollars wisely. I also, in work and preparation for the Board of Supervisors meeting, I try to build consensus. I study the issues, prepare for meetings, look for ways that we can move forward, look for commonality in our pursuits. I want to solve problems without reinventing the wheel, and I take advantage of opportunities to learn from other counties. I've taken a course with other supervisors on the budgeting process, and I am now taking a course on community planning. This gives me an opportunity to learn how other counties are solving problems and what might work here. Action and commitment. We have tremendous resources in Middlesex, especially our talented and hardworking people. But we also have fertile land and forests and fabulous waterways. I'm working to make sure that we use our resources wisely to create opportunities for the people who live here. Opportunities to work, to prosper, to learn, and to enjoy the natural beauty. I've seen how hard people work to build businesses and make a living, and how much time they devote to volunteering to making our community better. Our citizens pull together our volunteer firefighters and their auxiliaries, the coaches for youth.
30 seconds.
Programs at the library, the Y, 4-H, museums and churches, all staffed by volunteers, bring about a forward-looking, can-do spirit. I bring this spirit to county government and act to preserve our rural community and seek to provide opportunities here. Working together, we will keep Middlesex competitive.
Thank you. Mr. Holt, you have 4 minutes.
Thank you, sir. I apologize for reading my comments, but I knew I had 4 minutes, and I knew Eddie was going to have the timer on it, so I wanted to be careful. My introduction to Middlesex County was over 54 years ago when I attended and was graduated from Christ Church School. From there, I graduated with a BA in psychology from the University of Virginia and then enlisted in the United States Navy Aviation Officer Candidate School. I joined the private sector in small business at Delta Oil Company, starting as a management trainee and retiring as president and chairman of the board after 40-plus years and still serve as board chairman. I've owned residential property and kept at least one boat in Middlesex over the last 34 years. I'm an active member of Christ Church Parish, having served on the vestry, and I'm active in our Brotherhood community outreach. Acting on my desire to serve my community, I ran for and won the Pinetop seat on the Board of Supervisors and have served the last 2 years as chairman. In addition to the usual supervisor duties, I have served as an alternate on the Regional Jail Authority and the Charter Broadband Authority. Currently, I serve on the Joint Budget and Finance Committee with the schools. This is a good committee which has relieved a lot of stress during budget times. I also serve on the Middlesex Water Authority, and I'm proud of the fact that what was originally planned as a relatively small system to serve the Deltaville area has evolved into a large system, serving water to our growth areas and providing fire protection with fire hydrants along some 18 miles of water line from Rosegill to Deltaville, as well as hydrants in the neighborhoods that have signed up for service. And all of this has been accomplished through voluntary hookups. You might want to check your homeowner's insurance to see if this fire protection might have a reduction on your rates. The airport committee is another of my responsibilities, and these are exciting times. The new owner of the property at the north end of the runway is interested in working with the county to realign and lengthen the runway, making for a safer airport. At the same time, we're exploring forming an airport authority and making it regional to hopefully reduce expenses. Changing the designation of the airport, forming an authority, and making it regional will broaden the sources of monies available from state and federal funds to maintain and improve our airport. I've also been working with the staff of Hampton Road, with our staff and with the Hampton Road Sanitation District to bring sewer to our designated growth areas. Lack of good water, sewer, and broadband has handicapped our efforts to keep up in our region, and we're making up for lost time. Finally, I serve as the Director of Emergency Services, working with our first responders for the health, safety, and welfare of our citizens. In this regard, I'm proud of the fact that as a board, we provided for the new emergency radio system with enhanced 911 as well as computer-aided dispatch. We also have provided for self-contained breathing apparatus for all 4 fire departments. And finally, providing for 24/7, 365 EMS service in Urbana after the volunteer squad disbanded. As a board, we've worked alongside the Middlesex Foundation on the Cook's Corner revitalization, which makes for good economic development for our county. The issues facing our county are a lack of infrastructure, economic, and
30 seconds.
all right. Let's see, public access, multi-use paths, and the boat tax. I've worked hard in all of these areas with reasonable success in everything except the boat tax. We've examined enterprise zones to help the marinas, which were not well received. I'm not a fan of taxes, but I ask that you consider the fact that a boat tax is a luxury tax on items that people voluntarily buy, and if these taxes are shifted away from the boats, they're going to fall on our citizens. 14.1% live in poverty, 35 are retired.
Thank you, Mr. Holt.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Wayne Jessie, born and raised here in Middlesex County to the late Amy and Frank Jessie of Warner. I graduated from Middlesex High School in 1979. I went on and furthered my education Concord College in Athens, West Virginia. And in Athens, West Virginia, I ended up, when I graduated, with a BS in business. When I graduated, I ended up coming home, and I said I wanted to work with my father's business, Jessie's Construction. And along with that business, the first thing I said I wanted to do was to join something in the community. So I decided, I wanted to join the fire department. So I joined the Urbana Fire Department, and that was in '84 at that time. And I went to the fire department, thinking that, they were going to welcome me with open hands. Talked to the chief. Chief said I couldn't find, no application. I can't find an application. So, I knew most of the people around here in Urbana. So I ended up, I decided, I said, let me go talk to the president. I talked to the president. He found an application just like that. And I've been on the volunteer fire department for 34 years. After that, in 1996, it was the first elected school board, because prior to that, it was you were appointed. So I ran unopposed for the first elected school board. And then after that election, I ran for 6 years. And then upon the passing of my father, I was appointed to the Board of Supervisors in 2001. And then at that time, I had to run a special election. And with that special election, I won that. And then for the past 18 years, I've been running, not running unopposed. I did have Gary Conrad run against me 8 years ago. But as to say, the 18 years that I have been on the board, I try to make fair and just decisions. And I'm going to let you know about a few things that I have been involved in the past 18 years. A new elementary school, a new courthouse, a new addition to the high school, new Sears Thrift athletic field, and also Maritime Museum right here down here in Deltaville. Miss Petey Clark, she died and left that to Middlesex County, and it was good that, it's a blessing to have that park here for economic development and functions that you have here in Deltaville. Also, the YMCA, that's another issue. I was involved with the YMCA where it is today. Back when YMCA first wanted to get together on that, it was five board of supervisors, and I was the swing vote, because 2 board supervisors said, no, it's too far down the county, And I realized it's really far from me because I'm way up the county, but I said it's going to help some citizens. So by my swing vote with that situation, the Y is where it is today. And and like I said, I could go on and on. A lot of other things have said that I'm not going to be repetitions on that because I know we have a certain time. But I just want to let you know that I've been on the board. I've been around in the area. I know a lot of people in the area by working
30
on the
seconds.
construction. And I'd like to thank you for listening to me. Thank you.
4 minutes.
First, many thanks to the volunteers of the DCA, and especially to you, Eddie. I've certainly enjoyed when I work with you on these events, and you will be sorely missed if you really mean that this is your last one.
I really mean it. Although you guys, I think, are very nice.
It is the spirit and commitment demonstrated by this community organization that gives me confidence we can create a great future for Middlesex County without resorting to ever higher tax and spend. We have the resources we need to build prosperity in Middlesex. We have 20,000 acres of fertile soil that's long provided an agriculture industry. We have one of the greatest assets in the whole state of Virginia, what Chesapeake Bay Magazine declared to be some of the best sailing, cruising, fishing, and paddling waters on the Chesapeake. Other Chesapeake communities like ours are thriving. Why not us? Our population, as well as the number of businesses, is lower today than 9 years ago. We're asking fewer people and fewer businesses to cover the increasing costs of running the county during a period when both state and federal government require more expenditures but fund less. This is a recipe for never-ending tax increases unless we make something different happen. We need to grow our tax base, and that's just what I plan to do. Boat registrations here have declined by 23% since 2011, though nationally they've declined by 1.2%. Our 23% decline translates to $12 million in annual lost commerce in the county and 145 lost jobs, according to a VIM study. The critical question is, where do we go from here? We need to stop penalizing boaters who want to stay here, but we have to be smart about it. We can't just dump that tax burden onto our property taxpayers. I'm conservative, I understand that. We need to be smarter. We also need to recognize that when the county lost the Central Middlesex Volunteer Rescue Squad due to a lack of volunteers, the Board of Supervisors had to come up with $500,000 to replace those volunteers immediately. If we don't keep an active and involved community, we face more major burdens dumped onto us taxpayers in the blink of an eye. So a sustainable and attractive lifestyle here, a community, is really important. The world has changed in the past 20 years, and we need to adapt. Our representatives need to listen, and listen well. My website was created specifically to make this happen. What are you telling us? What are the trends in recreation, in retirement? How can we make it easy to start and grow a business here? These are all part of my plan for working smarter and growing within our means. Thank you.
Thank you. Now let me explain something to everybody, candidates and people in the audience. We're now going to begin to ask questions. I'm going to try to do this fair. Ms. Whitaker, you'll get the first question, then Ms. Swinehart, you'll get the next, and down the line. You have 3 minutes to answer it. 3 times 6 is 18. I have 13 questions. 18 minutes times, oh Lord, 18 minutes times 13 is 270 minutes, divided by 60 is 4.5 hours. It's 7:30. We'll be out of here by 12 o'clock. Now, the reason I am saying that to you is you do not have to take the entire 3 minutes. and you probably don't want to, because these are some very, very good questions, and I think people really would like to have answers to them. So, Ms. Whitaker, the first question. One other thing, if you don't want to answer the question, just say you don't want to answer it. It may not pertain to you, but I think most of them do. Ms. Whitaker, as the number of boats taxed in Middlesex County continues to decline, and revenue from marine...
Can you start over? I didn't catch the first part of that.
As the number of boats taxed in Middlesex County continues to decline, and revenue from marine-related businesses also declines, are you in favor of eliminating the boat tax like our neighboring counties have done?
Thank you. The boat tax seems to be a widely discussed issue. I am not in favor of having two different tax rates, one for boats that are over 5 tons and one for boats that are under 5 tons. I think that the tax rate should be the same. I feel that the rate for the boat tax for under 5 tons focuses on our local people that work here, our crabbers and our oysters that go out every day, and they're bringing money back into the county. So I feel that they're being penalized by having to pay a higher boat tax rate. If the boat tax rate is eliminated, I would have to look and to see where we would come up with a revenue to make the difference come up.
It's the same question. Okay, thank you.
Everybody's going to get that question. I mean, that's on everybody's mind, so all of you will get that question.
Okay. Well, this is my approach. When we have a problem, I'm interested in all solutions. When I go out and visit businesses, every business I visit, I say, what's working, what's going well, and what's not working. And particularly, I say, is the county doing anything that's getting in your way so you are not thriving? And no matter what the business is, if they have an answer to that, then I say, okay, we can look at that. So I am open to any possibility. People who are in the marine-related businesses have come to the Board of Supervisors for years with specific details about the number of employees who lose jobs, the number of customers that come to marine-related businesses, and the losses that we're suffering. And my objective is to help us be competitive with other counties that are offering very similar services. So I would say it's on the table. Like my colleagues, we have to find the revenue to fund our services, but I'm interested in solutions.
Mr. Holt?
Thank you for a question that dovetails into the comments I didn't get a chance to finish earlier. After almost 5 years of study, we had a special budget session of the Board of Supervisors after I was elected, before I took office, dealing with this boat tax issue. And it has been studied every which way but loose. We have promoted the possibility of enterprise zones for marinas, and that hasn't worked out. My answer to the boat tax, with all the information that I have now, is that I do not favor eliminating the boat tax in Middlesex County. And for a number of reasons. We don't have the same broad tax base that our neighbors have. They have Walmarts and hospitals to generate tax revenues. We depend a lot more on boats than they do, and we don't have the broad tax base to fund it. So then where does that money have to come from? 14.1% of our folks live below the poverty level, and another 35 is estimated to be retirees. These people don't have the money, and I don't know where else it's going to come from. So until we find a better source of revenue to replace that revenue stream, I oppose eliminating the boat tax. Thank you.
Mr. Jessie?
Yes, I definitely oppose eliminating the boat tax because we did that research about 6 years ago. And if you people don't realize, Middlesex County has 46 marinas. Lancaster has 9. Matthews has 6. Essex has 4, Gloucester has 8, and Northumberland has 14. So you got to realize 27 of those marinas are right here in Deltaville. And now if you do away with that, if you want your tax rate to go up $2 per 100 for real estate, and we do away with it, that you just got to do the math. The math is here, and we have been over that. And check it out. That's all I can tell you, because even in our meeting when they voted on, well, me and Chip did not vote on it, but they voted to reduce the 5 tons and above from 98 cents to 62 cents. And that meant that we got $148,000 less in the budget of people that have second homes, that had boats, that were willing to pay it. And but yet we had $148,000. And I'm gonna tell you that we had to make that up to give the wealthy a break. But what did it accomplish? We had some board members say, let's do it and find out what happened. The math is right here. I mean, all you have to do is look at it and just look at it and read it, and the information is there for everyone. I mean, if we had 9 marinas, yeah, we could, hey, that's nothing. But you gotta understand, it's 27 of them right here in Deltaville. So I definitely will not do away with the boat tax.
Mr. Kimbrough?
Thank you. First, let's understand what we're talking about here. The boat tax revenue reached a peak of $1.5 million in, I believe, 2009 to 2011. In 2018, I believe it was $900,000, and it continues to decline. So we're in the neighborhood of $800,000 now and continuing to go down. But as I said in my opening remarks, the question really is, where do we go from here? We can't just eliminate the tax and have everybody come back, because there's no incentive for them to come back. There was incentive for them to leave. We have to be smarter than that. We have to have a more comprehensive plan. 2020 is when we will revise the comprehensive plan for Middlesex County. It's our opportunity to create a strategy that will have us be able to attract boaters back and stop penalizing them or give them good reason to be here. We also have the opportunity to go back to our marinas and ask them for input as to how they can modify their business models. And the third element is the Virginia Institute of Marine Science that created the study in 2011 showing that Middlesex County benefited by $54 million in commerce from the recreational boating industry. I have commissioned VIMS to update that study. They're working on it now, and we should have that study by Thanksgiving or Christmas so that we can use that as an input in revising our comprehensive plan and coming up with a strategy where we can once again have boaters that want to buy boats here and keep them here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kimbrough. Mr. Williams?
And talking to persons in my district, which is Harmony Village, they are telling me, and it's the way I think, that to do away with boat tax was foolish. I talked to one gentleman down Regency Road. He said, you know, I got a big boat. He said, I should have paid tax on it. I got the boat. They shouldn't do away with it. So where I stand, hey, Harmony Village is saying it should be taxed. So if I'm going to stand for Harmony Village, I got to say what Harmony Village is going to say. Boat tax. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Whitaker, before we pass that, because this question has absolutely, I should have asked them together, although most of you answered the question together. So I'm going to ask you to answer this first. Ms. Swinehart, we'll try to give you a new one. Where would the money come from if we did away with the boat tax? Now, I know some of you answered that, but can you give us some idea of what you think about that?
So that's the issue, is if we do away with the boat tax, then we have to offset that revenue from somewhere. And my thinking would be it would come from the tax-paying citizens here. It would be our real estate tax would be increased. So.
All right, Ms. Swinehart.
Sure. Well, I think there's a lot of possible answers to that, but doing away with the boat tax is not just a tax question. It's a matter of investing in a very important industry in Middlesex County. And so what do we get in return? The idea is not to lose money. The idea is to attract boaters and help businesses here compete with other counties. So I don't see it as a loss. I see it as a potential increased revenue from increased commerce. I also would like to point out that reducing the boat tax from 98 cents on the big boats to 62 cents cost us about $163,000. So it is a sum that can be considered without, it's not directly related to the real estate tax rate. There are other ways to find those funds.
Mr. Holt?
I think I answered it. The only thing I can see is that it would fall to personal property, more necessary personal property such as automobiles or real estate. And given the number of impoverished and fixed income retired seniors here, unless we can find another way to fund it, I think it needs to stay in place.
Mr. Jessie, I think you answered the question, but go ahead. Give it another shot.
Yeah, I did answer the question, but I would just like to say, too, if you think about it, if you have so many marinas right in one location, you know, they're competing against each other, too. But, yeah, and that's what I really wanted to say on that. But I did answer the question on it. Yeah, you would have to go through the taxpayers on real estate or personal property, and we sure don't want to do that. And there are a lot of marinas down here that are doing very well. There's some that's not doing well, and that's all I can say on that.
Mr. Kimbrough, you've answered it too, but go ahead.
The only thing I would add is in developing our strategy, we can take a lesson from Lancaster County, which did, in fact, make an investment. They pulled from their reserves, knowing that it was going to take a couple of years for them to build up the ancillary revenue from increasing the boaters in their county to offset the loss of their boat tax revenue. So they did make the investment.
Mr. Williams, I ask you, where would the money come from if we did away with the boat tax?
It's kind of simple. They're going to charge more for the real estate. Your taxes are going to go up and you're going to pay more because you got to try to balance the budget or whatever you do. You're going to pay more taxes. And we got to stop kidding ourselves. You know, I go to the wellness center down in Gloucester, and I know different administrators all over the place. You talk about the boat tax in Gloucester. Well, from some administrators that tell me it wasn't a big thing. And I also talk to people that runs the arena. And the guy said, look, we can't keep on doing things the same way we used to. We got to make adjustment. We got to make adjustments as boat people that runs for the tax. The unfortunate shouldn't have to pay for the ones that are doing better. So that's what I feel about the boat tax.
All right, thank you. Ms. Swinehart, this is the last boat tax question for the night. When the boat tax was reduced on 5-ton and greater boats, did it benefit the voting residents of Middlesex County or the non-residents more?
Well, the residents or the non-residents, I mean, the objective in reducing that was to benefit all of the businesses that are related to the marine industries. So most of those are owned and operated by residents of Middlesex County. And again, I see it as an investment, removing an impediment to our businesses here being competitive. We would not put a penalty on any other type of business in this county to make it harder for them to compete with a business, a hardware store in Lancaster. We wouldn't impede our hardware stores here by adding to their burden. And it's just a reality that the competition has eliminated the tax. We need to look at it and see how we can move forward. There's not just one solution here, but we can figure this out.
Would you like the question again, Mr. Holt? Okay.
I don't have any empirical data as to who benefited the most, whether it's residents or non-residents, on the reduction of the 5-ton and above rate. No empirical evidence whatsoever. I can only answer it anecdotally. How about now? Okay. I can only answer it anecdotally because as I look at the marinas, I see boats from Richmond and from wherever else that are docked in these slips, and I can figure that probably the benefit of this tax reduction went more to non-residents than to residents, but I don't have anything empirical to back that up.
I can say it did not benefit at all, because if you guys just look at the numbers, and I said it before, 27 marinas here, and you had people that could afford it, were willing to pay it, but yet, you know, some of them taxes were reduced by, what, $60? What impact did that do? What it did, it would say Middlesex County did not want that $140-some thousand. I know Ms. Swinehart said 160-some. She may have a little update of it. But, you know, that's revenue that I knew that we could get, and I knew that people were willing to pay it, but they said, no, we don't want that $100-some thousand, which $211,000 is a penny. For every penny we receive in revenue is $211,000. It was 3/4 of a penny that we could have had, but yet we raised taxes on everything else. It's no data that's saying that, you know, by doing this, how did it help? The only thing I could say, it was just keeping more people with the 5 tons and above more money in their pockets, and you know, some of them may have saved $60, some of them may have saved more, but it was like 854 boats that got the break. And you got to realize, a lot of those big boats, I went to Commission Revenue, a lot of those big boats, some people from Lancaster have their boats still here because the waterway is not deep enough for the huge boats. And you got to think about it. Deltaville, location. They have a very unique location. If it wasn't for that, West Marine wouldn't build a bigger place here. And I'm going to tell you right, I mean, just use a little common sense. What did it do? It kept people with the 5 tons above $60 more in their pockets, time 800 some boats. So it did not do one iota, but just something that somebody wanted to do.
So, in 2018, 57% of the real estate property taxes in the county came from the Pinetop district. It has 1,700 and some registered voters. I like non-residents to own property here and to pay taxes. They use nothing. They use no schools. They rarely use any of our civil services. Come here, build a house, and pay property taxes. Don't leave, please. Some have left because it made sense when they were paying significant amounts to keep their boats in this county versus moving. And I know people that have moved because of that. And we are foolish not to appreciate that having non-residents own property here is a major income stream for this county, and we need to promote it. So if it benefited the non-residents, I'm okay with that, because I'd like for them to keep coming here, driving up property values where they have their summer homes and paying the taxes here.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Microphone's being passed down to you.
I'll say it again, I don't believe somebody else should be paying tax for somebody else. I just can't see it. I would have, everybody quoting numbers here, and I thought I was pretty good on numbers, but, you know, I would have to look at this stuff for myself, but it's just not right. And just once again, I'm saying that the ones in Harmony Village said it's just not right. So I can't sit here and agree that it is. And the numbers are proven to itself. We shouldn't even be talking about it too long. To me, this is how I'm going to say it. Glass half full or the glass half empty. We could get a disagreement, but we forgot there was an 8-ounce glass. It should be somewhere that we can make common ground that somebody else shouldn't be paying the bill for somebody else. We got retired, we got seniors. It just shouldn't happen. We shouldn't even think about that. And if they leave, they leave. I mean, what you going to do?
Ms. Whitaker?
So, to answer this question, I don't know for a fact who it benefited more, non-residents or residents. I would think it would benefit non-residents more. However, I feel that we need to look out for our residents too, and we need to look out for our boaters that come and they crab and they work here and they give back to this community. They shouldn't be penalized at a higher rate because they have a little skiff that they go out and work in every day. If we're going to have a boat tax rate, it needs to be the same across the board for everyone, and that's where I stand with that.
Thank you. The next question is going to go to Mr. Holt. I'll ask it to all of the candidates. What are your plans to reduce the $23 million debt that Middlesex County has today?
With the exception of the new radio system, the Middlesex County long-term debt, as I understand it, has not been increased by anything that the current board or boards over the last several years have done. This debt is for the building of schools, for the building of a courthouse. We have very, very, very good rates financed for long-term on this debt, and my plan is just to continue paying the long-term debt service on it and pay it down over the years that it exists, and be thankful that our county, because of its financing, is in the financial strength to be able to borrow money at good rates.
The present board, with its capital outlay, water, sewage, Cook's Corner, walking path, will cost another $23 million. How will we pay for this?
Where did the $23 million come from?
On this sheet of paper here somebody gave me.
Okay, I just go to the meetings. Okay, water is self-sufficient, paid for by the people who voluntarily sign up for it, with the exception of a donation that the county has made of $700,000 for fire hydrants for fire protection. So water should come off of that $23 million, if that's indeed a figure. The other question you had was sewer.
It was sewage,
Okay.
Cook's Corner,
We're
and
working
walking
with the
path.
Hampton Road Sanitation District to bring sewer to the underserved business nodes and communities of Deltaville. This has been in the comprehensive plan for years. The deal is that the county will pay for the collection system, which is the neighborhood of piping coming out to a main that Hampton Road Sanitation then pipes the sewage to their treatment plant of choice. Yes, that will be expensive. Yes, it's necessary. Civilized people that live in concentrations have water, they have sewer, and they have broadband, and we're going to have to pay the piper. The longer we wait to do it, the more it's going to cost. Was there a third item in that?
No, Cook's Corner.
Oh, okay. Cook's Corner is a wonderful revitalization project. There is no more expense for sewer in Cook's Corner than there is for Locust Hill or Deltaville, proportionately speaking, because those are the plan was to deploy the sewer and have the county cover the cost of collection.
Mr. Jessie, do you want me to read the question again? It's two of them.
I think the first one was about the debt.
How to reduce it,
Reduce the debt.
and the other is how to pay for more debt.
Well, all I can say about with the debt, you know, in the Commonwealth, most counties have debt. You know, if you're building school, courthouse, and you know, you have debt, and basically it's the bond rating. And with those bond ratings, if you have a good A+ bond rating, and then from time to time, if you can refinance and have a lower interest rate, and right now we have good rates at this time. Okay. The second question was on revitalization of.
Yeah, the present board with the capital outlay, water, sewage, Cook's Corner, walking path, it's another $23 million. How will we pay for it?
I don't know where that $23 million came from, but yeah. But I'm just letting you know there was a lot of grant money that was involved in that, and with that, we will end up getting a lot of tax base from that and jobs. I know it's going to be about 20 jobs will be created from that. You have a restaurant that will be going across the road with a event center and potential motels. Those are things that we need in the county, and also you have a walking trail that's going to go in the back with history of the area, which is also going to be good. But anything that we can create jobs to keep some of our youth in the county, because I can tell you the Croxtons with their business that they have, you can be trained here and go all over the world if you want, because they have business in California and all other places. So I think it's good to have that, and also a lot of that, like I said before, it was grants that we were involved in. I think it was 10 counties, and out of the 10, we were one that picked that money, that grant. They got that grant because it could have gone somewhere else. So a lot of this is going to be started basic with the grant money, and like you say, the water is also going to be sustainable by collections, and because Grace Point is going to help that a whole lot to go farther down in Deltaville.
I think the water's been addressed. The Cook's Corner development, the county investment there is really for supplying sewer to the housing development there. That's a very minor cost, and encouraging the Croxton's new business, which I would be concerned about building a brewery in Cook's Corner if it wasn't the Croxtons, but their record speaks for itself. They are very great business people, and so I have faith they'll be successful. Sewer in the Deltaville area collection system is the big nut, $10.6 million estimate. I have already spoken with the governor's office that deals with grants for that type of infrastructure. There are grants available, not necessarily for the whole thing, but we are not going to be stuck paying for all of that by any means. There are a number of ways that we can get help from the state government to get that sewer collection system. And those are really the big numbers. They're not anywhere near $24 million.
23 million is... Mr. Williams?
We are laughing at this debt. You know, I wasn't aware of it. Once again, we talk about numbers, you know. And we go back to another question. We keep on giving away stuff and we keep on going debt, we're going to have to do something crazy. So I think that we got to be very careful of how we keep on depending on these grants, because at the same time, we're going to have to, the county's going to have to pay something. And I think with a little bit better transparency, because I'm pretty sure we said $23 million in the debt, and some of us probably, including myself, don't know exactly how that come about. I think we should be told, and we should know, without a question in my mind, we should communicate and see that the debt, and maybe we'll be able to understand why taxes would have to go up if it do have to go up. Some of these ideas are great, but some of them are dreams. We don't want to end up at a dead-end street going into debt on base of a whole lot of stuff that don't really make sense. Cook's Corner, I guess the project sounds pretty good, but we don't exactly know what exactly it's going to be, and we don't know how it's going to benefit the county at all. But we got to reach out, and the county got to understand from the same facts that the Board of Supervisors understand. Because once again, when it's planned coming to the Board of Supervisors, somebody got to plant this thing in. And the numbers got to be studied a little bit better to find out exactly how you're going to pay for it. Then some of these questions that we're being asked tonight, to me, I'm just put on the spot based on what? I need to be communicated with. And I think that any supervisor in that district needs to know these things that we are talking about now. And I'm saying that that's the type of guy I am. Okay, you're going to know what go on. And evidently, we're talking $23 million, we're talking about giving away money and this thing is all right. It's not. But I can promise you one thing. If this is the money and how it works, and I can see how things work, and I'm still learning. I'm still learning right now. And I'm not going to get caught up in words, but numbers will catch you up because you can't fool numbers at all. That's all I got to say about it.
A $23 million debt is a long-term process. We need to work on having reserve funds to start working to pay the debt down. We don't need to increase it. This type of debt will not be recaptured overnight or within a couple years. One way we can do this is by business growth right here in our county. And one example of that, excuse me, I'm battling a cold, is the Cook's Corner Revitalization Project. This specific project is gonna it's gonna have the 24-unit, 2-bedroom apartments. It's gonna serve our local fire, school teachers, the sheriff's office, and they're gonna be able to live there with within a certain salary requirement. Currently, this project is being worked out with state and federal money, and there are a few grants that are being submitted for that. So that's one way with the restaurant. That's one way that we can get more business in here to help with the deficit.
Thank you.
Well, with regard to the debt, I do think it's important to remember that we take on that debt, but we have assets that balance that. We have a very good credit rating, as has been mentioned, and get a good rate. And when you're making investments in a community that you believe in, it makes sense to go ahead and build schools, which were a considerable part of the debt, and pay for them over time. There's very few communities that can build a brand new middle school or elementary school, which is the most recent one, and pay cash. It's okay to finance something like that when you're creating an asset. So I think wise use of our debt makes sense. I also think that we do have a good plan, the capital improvement plan each year, that helps us to project some of the costs that for needed maintenance and improvements in the county. And some of the projects in the capital improvement plan are actually incorporated in the Cook's Corner project. So, for example, the school administration building and the gym there needed a new roof. Our investment as a county in replacing that roof will count as matching funds for the grant that helps us to develop that property. So that's a good project. We basically double the effect of our funding there. So we're leveraging it. The sewer is part of the long-range plan for the county that has been in the comprehensive plan that was adopted in 2009 and again 2010, 2014. And a lot of people in the community participated in that. And that calls for providing the services for a vibrant commercial activity. The sewer is so necessary for business. I had a conversation just today with a real estate agent who has a client who's interested in 4 to 5 acres for a property, maybe a new build, maybe something already built, but they need sewer and water. And I'm trying to think, where can we put this? We want this kind of thing to come to Middlesex, but we have to have the services. And I completely agree that citizens need communication. Cook's Corner, I'm happy to. I write letters about Cook's Corner. We've had meetings about Cook's Corner, and every time that they turn a little bit of ground at Cook's Corner, I'm ready to celebrate, and I'll talk to anybody who's interested about that development.
Thank you. Mr. Jessie, these are going to be sweet and quick. And I'm skipping around now because there's a lot of topics here and a lot of good questions, and I think we still have 2.5 hours worth to go. Mr. Jessie, what's your view on solar farms?
Solar farms, okay. Well, my view on solar farms right now, solar farms, in our comprehensive plan, really, when the solar farm first, we had one in Hartfield. That was just a test, and our comprehensive plan and our zoning had it wide open. It wasn't, how can I say it? It wasn't thought out clearly because they were so new, and we learned by what happened up in Essex County, and they had a lot of problems with Essex County. But the thing we got to understand, having the proper screening and the distance from your main roads and other homes and surrounding properties, that's what you really have to have. And having that proper screening and the areas that you want to have them in. I think in the future, I'm looking at we should have just a special area just for solar farms, my personal opinion. But, you know, that's just one of my ideas. But we have tried to strengthen, and we have we have had some changes in our zoning, so everything wouldn't be by right. Your large tracts of our solar farms are not by right. At first, we had a lot of them, some of them by right in certain zoning districts. But right now, we will have everything by right, so it can come before the board of supervisors have the last say so after it comes from the planning commission.
Thank you. I think that the Board of Supervisors made a wise decision by making solar subject to a special exception. I think we have yet to answer the question as to whether having solar farms is consistent with our desire to have Middlesex stay a rural community. The solar farms do take land that was previously in land use out of land use, so they do pay a full real estate tax on the value of the land. However, my problem with the solar farms is that there's no other source of revenue from them. So they're creating commerce in our county, they're generating money for Dominion, and there's no way that we as a county can tax that. And so that is the challenge that I see that we have with solar development, if there's an alternative for development of the land. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Well, property owners have the right to use their property. However, the rights of the citizen must be considered. Solar farms are distracted in a rural environment, and it reduces the value of adjacent properties. If they must be there, they should be out of the common view. So if somebody got enough land to put a solar farm there that nobody can see it, that's fine. And you know, it's pretty interesting how I receives it, because once again we're going with farmland turning into solar farms, and it might be more than anything I know about. Then the county itself can't get any tax from it. You know, we talking about paying debts down and stuff like that. You know, that'll be pretty interesting issue of the solar farm, because we don't get any revenue holler from it, almost a screen. And I don't know exactly how it goes, need to be checked out, but it should be getting more revenue for the county and the solar farms, and that's my opinion, because the income is guaranteed on rental through Virginia Power, you know, so that's my opinion.
All right, thank you. Ms. Whitaker?
So solar topic is something that I have, I had an opinion on it, and then I decided to look at the facts. I wanted to look at the research, especially in my district, the Jamaica district. Many people were disconcerted with the appearance of the solar farms, but what do the facts say with our county? Yes, we do need to listen to everybody and hear what their concerns are. But for the particular solar farm up in Jamaica, that solar farm will occupy less than 250 acres of land. Jamaica district right now is approximately 31 square miles in Middlesex, and it equivalates to a little over 20,000 acres. That comes down to 1.25% of our total land mass in Jamaica. That number is reassuring to me because I do enjoy the beauty of our rural district, and I want to keep it rural. And it also shows that our county is, we have an economic and a social impact on the county as a whole. We need to explore the pros and cons of renewable energy. And in order to do this, a feasibility study needs to be conducted on how our residents are impacted. So, studies show that Jamaica District proposed a solar farm does not affect the adjacent home values. This proves that we are economically responsible as well as fiscally responsible. The solar project in Jamaica will generate indirect and direct jobs as well as increasing property tax, which will benefit the county.
Okay. I think solar farms represent one of the classic roles of the supervisor, and that is balancing different needs and desires in the community. We have to balance property rights. Owners of property, in many cases, have invested in that property as their retirement fund or for their family's future. And that needs to be balanced with a very legitimate and agreed upon goal in Middlesex County to preserve our rural landscape. So what I hear mostly from people is what they object to is looking at the solar farm. So I'm really glad that the Board of Supervisors has adopted a policy of considering solar farms as special exceptions in the zones where they may be allowed. And that gives us at least one more opportunity to enhance any kind of screening or mitigate any other effects on adjacent property owners or people driving down the highway. So I think that, you know, going forward and being thoughtful about it and learning from other counties. Other counties are facing very similar issues, and as long as we keep moving forward and finding solutions, I think the special exception will help us to mitigate those visual effects of the solar farms that may be proposed.
Thank you. Being part of the board that made the decision to grant by special exception, I think with the information we have before us, that is really the only way to proceed with solar farms. I'm all for green renewable energy, and I'm a very large proponent of individual property rights. But you've got an industry that wouldn't exist if it weren't subsidized. As far as I know, there is no regulation. I don't know what one of these panels would do if it broke open and whatever was inside of it got out. We just don't know that. We've got the issues of screening and the fact that there really is no upside to the county outside of the fact that we get a little bit of increased taxation when the property goes out of land use and into regular taxation. I think granting by special exception is the way to go. We want to make sure that we honor people's property rights and that we do our part for green renewable energy.
You guys have done very well. I haven't had to call time hardly at all. And now I'm going to give you the opportunity, since you are so good in answering your questions in a timely fashion, I'm going to ask two at a time. Why should the county subsidize the YMCA, and why should the county subsidize starting up a brewery in Cook's Corner?
The YMCA, I think, is a model of efficiency that results from scale. If the county had to provide the services to its citizens that the Y provides, we would be spending a multiple of the money that we spend on the Y each year. It's efficient because it has scale. It extends to multiple locations. The administration is spread over a wide base, and there's no way that the county could provide those services as cost effectively as the Y. I've always been a strong proponent of the Y, and I think it has increased services to the county and its youth in a way that's made it indispensable for our county. I think we got a good deal from the Y. The brewery is more of a challenge. As I said before, if it were not, we're betting on a jockey, not a horse, is the way I think of this. I would be glad to go into business with the Croxtons based on their success. I think they are going to be successful. I have also, in my consulting practice, I've worked with 2 craft breweries that are based in Richmond, extremely successful. So I understand how successful they can be, not only at creating jobs, but at creating what I've literally seen as a line out the door waiting for a new release. So they can bring people to as a destination, and being on the path from Richmond to the Northern Neck and to Deltaville, I think we will get some benefit. But I'm betting on the Croxtons, not on the brew.
Thank you, Mr. Kimbrough. Mr. Williams?
Well, the Y, you know, health concerns, the places you can go to exercise and do things like this. So everybody that can afford to go to the Y can benefit from it. I mean, that just natural. It's something you can do. You don't have to walk up and down the highways and stuff like that. If you can afford the membership to the Y, it's very beneficial. Now, for us, the brewery itself, I guess it's going to be beneficial to some. They call it a brewery. It's going to be beneficial to some. It's going to have side effects for others. If we look at it exactly right, it's a brewery. Most things like that, they'll be successful because they are what they are. And if you accepted that, you got to accept everything along with. It's a brewery. And that's exactly what it's going to bring, and we have to watch out for ourselves. But the Y is a good thing for exercise as we get older, places we go all the time, and it's a good thing. How much you invest in, how much you cost, the location, all these things are very good, but it's also a cost factor there. Some of us can't afford to go to the Y. But see, that's another thing altogether. That's something that needs to be looked at too, so. The Y and the brewery are up in the air, but I think it'll be pretty good. I think it'll be okay.
The YMCA, it does a lot of great things for our citizens right here in this county, and especially children that are not having the financial funds within their family to get them to go to the Y. So they do offer a program where children, if their parents or grandparents are below a certain income level, they can go and participate. They can play soccer. They can join with other teams. They can join the YMCA. The children shouldn't be penalized. And I think that our county as a whole needs to look at everything that we support, and we have to be able to give back a certain amount. It's imperative for growth, and it's imperative for the people and the residents that live here. The brewery in Cook's Corner, I think that that's going to be a great source of revenue that's going to generate funds that come back into the county. So to me, I feel that let's give it a shot and we can go from there and see what happens. But we have to be able to enhance growth right here in our county, and we have to be able to listen, and we have to be able to welcome new business opportunity in order to continue to grow and thrive, so our tax base doesn't continually rise on our residents.
Thank you. Well, I think I would agree. The Y is a terrific program, and for our investment this past year, I think was about $47,500. We have not only programs for children and people of all ages, but we have an organization that's able to combine programs. So, for example, with the schools and social services, and executing a summer feeding program for young people, who then had opportunities for socializing and learning and recreation. So I think it's all around. It's a great investment. It is also a place where people from all over the county can come and get to know one another and engage in different activities. So I just think it's a good investment in our community, in the people who live here. Regarding the brewery, I would take issue with the word subsidize. The brewery is a project that's going through the Economic Development Authority, and it is the Economic Development Authority funds are not coming out of the taxpayer county budget. Those are funds that are made available to develop commerce. So if you have an idea, and you have an idea for business or an idea that would employ people in Middlesex County, you can go to the Economic Development Authority, and they have the means to lend money and to use property, as in this case, property that belongs to the Economic Development Authority that's not generating any revenue will now have a business, which I expect will thrive. There is a lease that the business owners will be paying back to the Economic Development Authority, so more money is available for other businesses or people with ideas. So it's a good process, and it is not a drag on our economy at all.
Contrary to popular belief, I do like the YMCA. As a brand new supervisor, I was looking for ways to save the county money, and I thought that after the county had basically donated the land and one building that they use and another building that's being leased out, that might be enough for the county to do. The political reality is that people wanted that gift to continue going to them. I have accepted the vote to continue to subsidize the YMCA, and I have moved on. So I don't have any reason to discuss the YMCA anymore unless my constituents bring it up or other board members want to do something different about it. I agree with Kathy. I take issue with the term subsidy on the Cook's Corner redevelopment project. Cook's Corner is just one of like 6 growth nodes in the county where we are committed to provide sewer collection and other things to promote economic growth. So I don't think that we're doing anything for anybody that we wouldn't be doing for somebody in Deltaville if the same opportunity or in Locust Hill or whatever came up.
Well, just like I said in the opening, I was the swing vote for the YMCA back when my fellow board members were here. And saying that, I have no problem with the YMCA being subsidized. I know that the Upper County would not benefit it a whole lot because the Upper County can go to Tappahannock before they can get down to Locust Hill. Locust Hill, Hartfield. But you know, I support it because they have a lot of good programs. And also with the brewery, great. That's a great idea. It's going to create 20 jobs. Meal tax base, and also it's also going to have we get taxes from that too. So it's going to be good for Middlesex County and for everyone that is involved in it.
Mr. Williams. Some counties and cities in Virginia have raised their sales tax to 6 and 7%. Would you support raising Middlesex County sales tax to raise money for services such as the police and fire and rescue departments that are affected by the influx of tourists during the spring, summer, and fall months?
You know, raising the taxes is pretty good, but you said for tourists, different places hire their own persons for protection. In raising tax that we don't mind to raise, and understanding that we $23 million in debt or some kind of way would be a way to get some revenue back in the budget. But exactly where you want to put it at should be kind of left up to the county itself. Because I noticed even in Gloucester County, I brought a swimming pool from the dollar store, and I brought one in Saluda. The one in Gloucester had more tax than the one in Saluda, so I guess a penny or two here or there, you got a choice. I say, yeah, you can raise it for whatever the county needs it to be raised.
Thank you. That is a very difficult question. I would love to see more money being dedicated to our police, fire, and rescue departments. I do believe that they need the funding. However, I would really need to dig deep and look at the overall impact on that. It's easy to say, let's just go up 1% or 2% to people that come in the county in the spring and in the summer, and let's generate their money. But the people that live here are also going to pay that increase as well. And the overall impact on that, will that really help our businesses, or will that not help our businesses? If you go to Urbana and you go to eat there, you pay a higher tax rate versus if you go right outside of Urbana, because they have a higher meals tax rate. So what does that do for the people that live here? They know if they work in Urbana, they know if I go here to eat, I'm going to pay this rate, and if I go here to eat, it's going to be a little bit cheaper. It really comes down to the dollars and cents, and it needs to be analyzed and it needs to be looked at. So right off the top of my head, I cannot say yes or no, I will support a 6 or 7% sales tax increase without doing the proper research and analyzing it, how it would affect the community overall.
Thank you. I don't really see a sales tax increase as a good or appropriate option for our county. For one thing, I think it would be very difficult to get it approved by the General Assembly, but I also, we have a couple of other avenues that we're using now in the meals tax and the transient occupancy tax that I think would be more beneficial. A sales tax would apply to all purchases, whereas meals and lodging are a little bit more of an optional purchase, prepared meals at a restaurant. We do have a tax on meals, prepared meals at restaurants now about 5%, and we have a 2% transient occupancy tax, which we would like to increase to 5% or get permission to increase. I guess I should not get ahead of myself. And I think that's appropriate because those funds aren't earmarked. A good portion of those funds are earmarked for emergency services, and that does apply to people who come here for the weekend, and we do need to provide law enforcement, safety, fire protection, rescue for those communities. So it's an appropriate tax. But I would also say the vacation rentals too is an area of innovation in our economy that I think is an example of good things moving forward. When people rent their cottage or home to travelers and they are charging a tax, we get a little revenue. But we also generate a lot of interest and make it possible for people to come and spend a week or a weekend. And that kind of interest in Middlesex and accommodation is very welcoming.
Thank you, Kathy. This is a concept I had not really thought about until a constituent brought this up to me within the last week. And the first thing that came to my mind was fairness. And it is a tax that everybody buys stuff, and if they're going to pay a tax on that, then nobody gets to avoid or evade that tax. That would be something that would come to the county. So I do think that we need to take a good, hard look at this, as we have with our B-poll, as we have with our property taxes, personal property, real estate. We try to stay as a county in the mid-range. There are unintended consequences of being too high or too low on any given tax rate. So I think this is something that we should give some study to. Just to put some meat on the bones, 1% of the Virginia state sales tax is returned to this locality right now, and that amounts to just about $1 million a year. So if you start looking at 1%, you can figure that in $1 million per percent.
All right. Okay. With the meal tax, well, I know we're saying sales tax, but with our meal tax it was like went through a referendum 3 times, and the only way we passed it was when we included some of those funds would go toward the fire department and rescue squads here in Middlesex County, and the 3rd time it did pass. So like I was saying, we did it a different way for our rescue squads and fire departments. So we are accumulating funds for that through the meals tax, which was turned down 3 times, and the 3rd time it came through. And the occupancy tax, that's going to be has to go through the General Assembly. Occupancy tax, and it has to be passed through the General Assembly, because right now it's at 2%, and we're looking at 5%, and that's when people come here to visit.
Thank you. For clarity, are you talking about a seasonal tax that would only be in effect, say, from Labor Day to or Memorial Day to Labor Day, or all year?
All year.
Okay. So I continue to be afraid of the loss of our volunteer EMS squads and the cost that all residents are going to have to come up with if that happens. And so if there's a way to target funding towards our emergency services, I would be in favor of that. I don't think people will leave the county because we have a 6% sales tax. I would like to understand what the impact is on our residents in terms of understanding their spending. I don't have those numbers, so I don't have a frame of reference, but I would certainly entertain the idea.
Thank you. A lot of money questions. Money, money, money. All right, the next question, I believe, is for, is it Ms. Whitaker? At $17 million, the school budget consumes over 70% of expenditures for the county. It appears that we spend over $11,000 per student, and yet teacher salaries are low, and every year teachers ask for donations for supplies such as markers, pencils, and even tissue. Student fees that parents must pay continue to rise. Do you think we need an independent review of how money is spent for education in our county?
So first of all, for me, our children are our top priority. I think our school systems here are phenomenal, and I think that we need to continue to keep them phenomenal. I think that we need to maintain our budget, and we need to be in the same, we need to be in the right statistic area as the other counties and what they're paying their school teachers. And I believe that the Board of Supervisors did that last year with the increase in teacher salaries. Yes, I believe probably the cost per student is $11,000. And as a mother of two, that both of my children go to a school and that I know that they are getting the best education that they can get. And that's one of the reasons that I live here, is because of the school system. That's reassuring to me. I know that, yes, they do have a lot of needs. The teachers need supplies, but they need those supplies from parents because our funding they don't get enough money to go out and buy all the supplies that they need for the children. If you think about it, what does it cost to send a child to daycare for a week? Spending $100, yes, that is a lot of money. But if you have a child that goes to daycare, that's nothing. And then on the other side of that, there are foundations in our county and parts that I have volunteered with and I have served with, and that's what we do. We raise money so we can give back and we can help these kids have all the supplies they need. So, yes, I think that the school system's great. To reanalyze the budget, I believe the school board does that, and I think the school board does a really great job of everything they do, and I commend them for all of their services.
Thank you. I do, educating our children is a big part of our budget for any local government, and I'm very pleased with the innovation and the hard work and the dedication that our schools and school personnel put into their work every day. I visit the schools regularly. I'm always observing, and as a former school administrator, I'm impressed. I see a lot of innovation. I see people who are very well connected with their students, who are seeking to have each student succeed. And yes, if you want every child to succeed in a school system, it does cost money. I was a school administrator, and this was a number of years ago. I had an extremely tight budget, and this was years ago. And we got it down to about $6,600 per pupil. But that didn't include a lot of things that Middlesex County is required to provide and does provide. So I think we're getting a tremendous value for our money. And I think that the important thing here with education spending is to view it as an investment. We want our children to be able to take advantage of any opportunity that crosses their path when they finish school here, but also to have opportunities here to seek employment, to seek further education, to seek ways to give back to the community. And our schools are doing that.
Mr. Holt, that was a long question. If you want me to repeat it, I'll be happy to.
I'll try to spare you.
Thank you.
I'll try to spare you. I can't disagree with any of the comments that have been made about our schools. Certainly it is the largest consumer of county revenues, and I don't know that I find 11,000 per student tremendously out of line with the figures that I've seen for surrounding rural counties. The one thing that has always baffled me since I've been on the board is the fact that nowhere at no time, not in Richmond City, not in Chesterfield, not anywhere, are the schools and the governing body together on financing. Everybody is always at odds over something to do with the financing. Nobody's ever satisfied with the amount of money that's given to the schools. And I would think somewhere, somehow, somebody would rise to the top and would give enough money to a school system so we'd hear that they were satisfied. And I'm not trying to make light of it, but I have to make that statement. As far as an independent review of education spending, whenever subjects like this come up, I encourage people to please go to your school board meetings, because that's where these decisions and these initiatives and everything come from. We are faced at budget time with dealing with this, and fortunately under Jack Miller's chairmanship, we did start a budget and finance committee that I serve on, and meeting throughout the year helps the school system to understand the financial constraints of the county, and the county to understand what it is that the school system needs. So I think an independent review would be something you'd have to ask of your school board.
Very well said. As you know, everyone knows that the school system, most counties in the Commonwealth, that's your biggest budget in the school system. And I feel that we also do have a good school system, and all of them are accredited, which is very important to have all your schools accredited. And I feel that Middlesex, they're in the right direction now. Being on the board as long as I have been on there, I can tell you, a lot of times your school board kind of cushion their budget because they know they're going to get it cut. I'm just going to tell the facts. And they do that. They do that, and that's because they feel that, hey, we're probably not going to get that, so they kind of cushion them a little bit. But I think overall, over the years now, that the schools and the school board and the board supervisor has been coming closer and closer together and try to work together. But I feel that we're in the right direction with that.
First, I will say that I've been fortunate to meet many Middlesex school teachers, and I've never seen a more dedicated group, and we're really blessed to have them that care so much. The challenge we have in a rural school system is much like any scale problem. We've got 1,000 students here. They have 1,000 students in Lancaster County. There's another 1,000 students or so in Matthews County, and every school district has all the infrastructure and the overhead and everything to try and handle that. And of course, administrative costs grow, costs of compliance that are imposed by the federal government and the state, that continues to grow, so it continues to get more expensive. The Board of Supervisors doesn't manage the school system, of course, that is the school board. So the question was, does the school need an independent review? I would suggest that this is not a negative at all. I would welcome an independent party who had experience across other school systems, and particularly rural school systems, to help not only in our investments going in the right place, but have we adapted to the changes that we're seeking in our elementary and high school systems. Because it used to be we wanted to graduate everybody to go to college. That's changing. And so are we keeping up? And are we investing properly for the jobs of tomorrow?
As has been said before, that, our schools are doing pretty good. I drive the bus for Middlesex County schools. I talk to the teachers and the different ones. I interact with them. I see them in the morning and the afternoons. And it always helps for someone to go back and make sure nobody get lost. I think one of them was saying that at one time everybody was planning on going to college. It never been that. but yet we accepted that role. The schools and the board, you got to do a little bit more partnership, because in the schools itself, I think this year they're trying a vocational program. Well, you got to look into it. We talking about partnership with the community. We have jobs in the community that we've never heard of. We are not doing anything about it, and it's been mentioned, a number of times that simple jobs, electricians, plumbers, painters, roofers, and things like that. We send our kids off to school, and we got alternative programs which are dead end. I mean, they go right to, and that's it. They get out of school and they have anything. We accredited. But we ought to be concerned about the ones that really are getting lost. I mean, I see kids that get lost. After they get out of school, we graduate them. So we so concerned with the ones that get out. You know that story about the 99 and the one that got lost. We got to be more concerned. And like one of the fellow ones was saying, we are not the school, but we are Middlesex County. And hopefully that our school is doing well, and it can do better. You always can do better, and sometimes you can check on yourself. I say we have a vocational program, each one of us in there. Take your time and check out and find out what's going on in your school systems. And it's always about, money, accountability. I mean, we worry about where to get the money from. We got to have accountability. Each one of us in here are stewards, and we need to be accountable for the things we do, because we set a budget. The budget should be clear where you're going to spend the money at. Then it's no problem, because you justify the reason you spend it. So, like I said earlier, I graduated from Middlesex. I did all right. 3 kids graduated from Middlesex and did all right. But I'm saying a whole lot of kids come out of school now lost. We need to have something that will give them a vision, so they will know what to do when they get out of schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. All right, folks. One more final question. What are the factors on which you will base your decisions as a supervisor if elected? If you're already elected, what are the factors on which you base your decisions as a supervisor? And why should we believe that you can do a better job running this county than your opponent? And we won't end it up on that. We'll end it up so you can have some, final remarks, which will be 3 minutes. And I have it's you, Ms. Swinehart, so you can begin with that question. I'll keep talking so you can think about your answer if you want me to. That's really why they want me here. You ready?
I'm ready.
Go ahead.
All right, thank you. Well, the factors upon which I make my decisions are the goals that are set out and established by the people of Middlesex County. I think it's pretty clear that our goals in this county are to preserve our rural character, to expand economic opportunity, and to retain the very valuable personnel who staff our Sheriff's Department, our schools, our local government, and the businesses. And to do this, we want to make life enjoyable for the people who live here. We want to encourage people, but we also want to attract new residents and businesses. And so my decisions will be and are based on how does this position our county to be competitive with other counties. This is a beautiful place. We choose to live here and we want to thrive here. But Lancaster and Matthews and Essex and Northumberland are beautiful places too. How do we compete so that we move forward and we are in a position to be self-sustaining? As we develop our county, we do not want to be in a position of being desperate to bring in a new business. We want to be planning and attracting and going forward in a very thoughtful manner. So those are the kind of factors that play into my decision. I understand we want to keep our taxes low, but when we spend money, we want to do it in ways that invest in the people that are making this county great.
Thank you. When I first ran for Board of Supervisors, one of the things that I had on my information card, it said, Chip listens. And for the last almost 4 years, I have not failed to respond to each and every citizen contact, whether it's email, snail mail, telephone, whatever it is. I have responded and communicated with that citizen about their concerns. Decisions have to be based on knowledge. As a supervisor, I listen and I learn. I find that it's a very delicate dance between leadership and representation, and I try to make that differentiation as clearly as possible.
Well, as a supervisor, you know, I try to make the best decisions that I can, and by being on the board for 18 years, I've seen a lot, and I've been through a lot, and you can see a board as it's transitioned from one spectrum to another. And the main thing of being a board of supervisors, you can't please everybody, but if you can please the majority of the people and do what you feel is right in your heart, and you can sleep at night and make wise decisions for all the citizens of Middlesex County, that's what it's all about. Because, you know, we all here got to live together. And that's how I see things. And, you know, I don't mind staying out on my own. You know, I'm not going to sit here and vote for things that just because everybody else is voting. I'm going to vote for what's right for Middlesex County and all my constituents. I listen to them, and I try to do what's right. I don't mind standing on my own on decisions, and I have. And basically, you got to sit down and look at all the facts, and that's what I try to do as a board supervisor, and that's why I've been successful this long, because I listen to the people, and I can sleep at night with my decisions.
So factors on which I base decision, first and foremost, is communication and transparency. I need to incorporate what people are trying to tell me into my decision. Second is, I believe that we should have a comprehensive plan that has feasibility, we can accomplish it and live within our means, and it's accountable. We have a plan where every year we're going to execute on this comprehensive plan, and we may need to make tweaks to it as we go along, but we should be delivering on a routine basis what we promise in our comprehensive plan. You create a business strategy, you execute the strategy. The execution is the hard part. That's what I would be basing my decisions on. As to why I can do a better job, in 20 years of management consulting, I've dealt with an unbelievable variety of business situations. I've run a school bus sales and maintenance company in Las Vegas. I've run a cable TV business, stainless steel stamping company. In every one of those, I was put there by the investors because they had issues. We needed to come up with how do we get out of the trouble that we're in, and how do we make the business thrive. I love doing that. I've had to become a very good listener, and I've had to become a very good analyst, but most important, I've had to become a good communicator in order to get the people that I work with to agree that this is what we're going to execute and deliver. Thank you.
The future of Middlesex does not depend on how much we can tax and spend, but rather on how more we can be more efficient, and what we can do to utilize partners with our citizens and civil groups as part of the process. Our government and our schools must demonstrate more efficiency. The county, the state, the country has proven that it's not necessarily better for more government is your biggest business in the county. For example, what not to do. Consider we want a bus shop in Middlesex. Now, we're talking about a bus shop. And the county can't come together with the sheriff department to utilize the best spending of the county's money. These kind of things doesn't need to happen. We need more togetherness and not separation. And once we learn more about working together, regardless on what level we are, and we can talk about it, but the numbers comes out pretty plain and pretty simple. We got to be more efficient as a county, but we're not doing bad. Don't let nobody kid you. We're not doing bad. Thank you.
My decisions and goals are going to be based off to serve the constituents of the Jamaica District, as well as the constituents of Middlesex County. I want to serve Jamaica District in a fuller capacity. I'm compassionate and I care about the concerns of the people in the county. I will work with my peers to make sound decisions. These decisions will be based on research and facts, not opinions. I firmly believe this is how I can make improvements for our county. I also want to listen. I want to talk to the residents in Jamaica and hear what they want to see improved, what concerns that they may have, and connect with them to see what the local government can do to serve and guide them. I'm doing this because I want to see improvements in the Jamaica District.
All right. That was almost a wrap-up question, and I guess it was, but I'm going to give all of the candidates now the opportunity to say anything else that they would like to say before we adjourn this evening. Not anything that you want to say. Well, you can say what you want to say if you can say it in less than 3 minutes.
I don't know what happened to my opening comments. I practiced them 4 times, and they came out to 3 minutes and 50 seconds each time. But anyway, be that as it may, tonight, as always, I've tried to answer all of the questions that were asked of me as straightforwardly as possible. Could I see a show of hands, anybody that doesn't know where I stand on the questions that were asked of me tonight? Any questions? Okay. If none, then all I can finish up by saying is we've got a lot going on in Middlesex, and now is the time to re-elect a dedicated, experienced supervisor. All I'm asking is for the Pinetop voters to return me for another term to complete the important initiatives that were begun on my watch. Thank you very much.
I would just like to thank everyone for coming out here tonight. And, you know, everybody out here look like they're tired, so I'm not going to run long on this. All I want to say is get out and vote. Every vote counts. And if you don't vote, don't complain.
I just can't sit any longer, Eddie. Again, I thank you also for being here, actively taking an interest in the community. You're what makes a difference. In my management consulting for 20 years, I've spent my career fixing problems. In my profession, I've turned around companies that were headed for insolvency by increasing revenues and by cutting expenses. Sometimes we had to invest, and sometimes we just had to cut. Sometimes we had the wrong people in place to achieve what we needed to do. In all cases, we had to work smarter, and that is what I respectfully offer to you as supervisor. Working smarter, we can create growth in our tax base while still staying within our means. Thanks to great mentors and lots of practice in a wide variety of industries, one of my skills my clients value most is my strategic planning experience. And in 2020, we will revise the comprehensive plan for Middlesex County. It's an opportunity that only comes once every 5 years, and I would love to put my expertise to work for the good of this plan. I've managed a number of companies that are about the same size as our county budget, and although I've not worked in political office before, I've worked hard for years in volunteer roles serving the Middlesex community as president of the DCA, treasurer of the Maritime Museum, and the organizer of 20 Leukemia Cup Regatta events. As past CEO of a marketing communications company, I'm well versed in how to grow customers, and I look forward to using those skills to bring a new generation of guests and their disposable income and jobs to Middlesex. And I don't walk naively into the task of supervisor. This year, I've attended every board meeting, most of the budget work sessions and committee meetings of the Economic Development Authority. I've studied budget models to understand our county finances. I've spoken to our board about issues you care about, like public water, solar farms, and the decline in our sport fishing industry. Several years ago, I changed jobs so I could free up 2 days a week for my volunteer activities. And in the past year, this has enabled me to volunteer over 700 hours of time here. I'm qualified and prepared and would be honored to be your supervisor.
Well, once again, you know, you think back while you're here, and I'm here because I was asked, and I think I could do a pretty good job as a supervisor in this county. I have seen changes over the years. Some changes have been good, and some things have been bad. Supervisors have made, you know, decisions that weren't good, and they made some great decisions. I think my life itself speaks for itself. I'm listening at everybody's resume that they tell me up here what they have done. You know, my resume is like this here. I fear God, so I fear my fellow man. You know, what did I do? Well, I worked from the very bottom at work to the very top. I told a gentleman he wanted to put me in place of the whole mill. We talking about dollars and cents and what we done. He wanted me to do a budget for the whole pulp mill. I said I couldn't do that because I was a union guy. I said, you see how they're taking all the money over here and doing this and charge that? As your supervisor in the county, yes, we can do better with how we spend. And we shouldn't really tax the older or the poor. We got to start looking out for each other. And sometimes we may stand here tonight, and as I said, my life speaks for itself. You're not going to find much of anything bad about me. But if I make a decision, if I vote on something, that is what I am. I can talk about it all day long, about what I'm going to change this or whether I'm going to change that, and we talking about what Middlesex is going to be in another 4 or 5 years. Well, we've been here, some of us, right, 1970 or 50 years, so we know we've been here 58 years. So we've been here and see these changes happening, what I'm saying. We're not afraid of anything. We are invested here. That's why I want to be your supervisor. I got something to lose, and guess what? I'm not going nowhere. I didn't come here to stay by night. I stayed, and that's the reason I'm still here. And if I leave here, I'm still going to be in Middlesex. And I tell you, how many of you all can say that? Thank you once again.
If I'm elected, I will work with the other Board of Supervisors to make sound decisions. I will base my thoughts on facts as to where I stand for my decision-making process. I will engage in conversation with fellow board members to look at the pros and cons of each topic. I will engage with constituents throughout my district as well as the county to be sure that every aspect is covered. I would like to see improvements throughout the Jamaica district as well as the county as a whole. I would like to see that park built in Jamaica where kids can go and play. I would like to see a basketball court in Jamaica where kids can go and interact with other children. I would also like to work on having a fitness center in Jamaica which would benefit the residents that live in the upper part of the county as well as bring citizens in from Essex County. This would not only generate more money for our county, but brings in revenue from the surrounding county. This, in essence, will impact the Jamaica district, all while generating revenue for Middlesex as a whole. I want Jamaica district to be a convenience place to live and bring new residents. The population in our county of residents between the age of 20 to 39 is currently at 16%. Let's take this number and increase it by making improvements throughout the county, especially Jamaica. I'm passionate about making Middlesex County a thriving place to live, work, and play for generations to come. We need to start somewhere, and that somewhere starts with me. I'm ready to go to work for the citizens of Jamaica and Middlesex County. Let's have a growth that we are all comfortable with.
Thank you. I think it's a good time to stand as well. I am a supervisor, and I believe the role of a supervisor is to find a balance between what we want as a community, what we need, and what we can afford. And these are difficult decisions. So I really value the citizen input, and I seek it. I have spent over the last several months, I've tried to visit every business in Harmony Village, and I'm just about succeeded. And I always ask, what's working and what do you need help with? How are things working out going forward? Being a supervisor means keeping your eye on the future. We need to plan for where we want to be 1 year, 2 years, 10 years down the road. And that takes hard work now. I am willing and I have experience in building consensus. I know that we can accomplish much more when every region of our county works together and when every aspect and every organization of our county finds common purpose. And that's what the kind of future that I hope to build in Middlesex. I believe in our vision, and I work hard to understand the desires of the citizens. I believe we invest in people, and we focus on providing the opportunity to build a business, raise a family, and enjoy our rural community. I have no doubt that we will be successful, and I am willing to work hard, to continue to listen, and to learn. And I ask for your vote November 5th.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Deltaville Civic Association and all of the people here tonight who are representative of the voters of Middlesex County, we want to thank you for your time, number one. Number two, we want to thank you for your willingness to serve our county in the capacity in which you have either done so or hope to do so. And we look forward to seeing you all, and good luck on Election Day. My favorite words, we are adjourned.